see a bunch of explorers gathered around. We see a man that looks a bit nervous, and someone else approaches him, asking if this is his first time on an expedition. He says that he's been to gates and dungeons, but this is his first time in an unexplored area, which is why he's a bit nervous, and he thanks him for the drink. The dude laughs, saying that he better prepare himself mentally, as these types of places are left unexplored for hundreds of years, so they're bound to be filled with monsters, and there may even be some ancient ones. The dude says that their expedition team leader is from the famous esteemed Marshall Lee clan. He heard that he's the patriarch's brother, which means he must be pretty strong. The guy who gave him drinks says that he might be a bit confused because he's an illegitimate son. He's so weak that he was actually banished from the clan. We are introduced to the Marshall Lee clan's 9th illegitimate child, named Lee Chul. The dude says not only is he not talented, he has no tenacity either, because he's only a 7th rank martial artist and old as hell. They ask how they're meant to depend on someone like him, and then someone walks in front of Chul, saying that they should get moving again, and glares down at him. Chul looks up at the dude, and then sighs, saying alright. Almost as if he's being forced into this mission, he explains that the Shadow Sword Squad are a direct affiliate squad of the patriarch of the Marshall Lee clan, and they're supposed to be protecting him, but something feels off, and he doesn't have a good feeling about this mission at all. There was once a time where he had hopes and dreams too. The time when he first realized the weight of being a part of the Marshall Lee clan was when he was chosen by the best ranked weapon at the steel selection ritual, and he thought to himself that if he continued to gain acknowledgement and tried his best, that he one day would be recognized. Of course, this did not happen. The doctor showed him his mana paths, saying that he's never seen them like this before, and he's not suited to learn magic, and martial arts will be super unstable if he tried practicing them. And for him to reach the 9th rank would be nothing short of a miracle. We see the butler telling the leader of the Lee clan all of this, and he looks out the window, and sighs. Chul continues, saying that once everybody learned about his condition, they dismissed what happened at the steel selection ritual as a mere coincidence or mistake. And so he gave it his all and proved the doctor wrong. He received the 7th rank at 25 years old, and he was genuinely happy, even if his siblings had reached that rank as minors. Don't tell Drake about them. Chul says that joy did not last long, since he was cast out of his clan at the age of 30, and if it were not for his oldest brother, he might have left the household as a corpse instead. He had been on the run ever since, and it's already been 10 years. A time of chaos had descended upon them all, and bro was straight homeless. We see some newspapers flying off as Chul continues explaining how the unexplored regions continue to expand, and the monster invasions became more frequent. One of the papers smacks him straight in the face. As he pulls it off his face, he looks down at it, and sees that the Sword Saint, Lee Taishan, his father who was the pinnacle of martial arts, and the patriarch of the clan, had passed away. Then he was approached by some men that were the Shadow Sword Squad, and Chul asks how they found him. They tell him that they have a decree for him, and he realizes they're just going to ignore his question. And Chul says his bloodline will never let him go, and that this is an order from the new patriarch, Gunsong, which is his 3rd brother. He wonders about his older brother, asking where he's at, and if this is why he was sent to the unexplored regions. They tell Chul they'll see him in an hour, but he tells them to wait, asking what happened to his eldest brother. He asks what is the point in ordering him to investigate the unexplored region, when he hasn't even wielded the sword in 10 years, and he's only a 7th rank martial artist. They ask if he's refusing to carry out his orders then, and Chul says doing so would, of course, mean death, so he says he'll do it. As they leave him, Chul sits there, full of anger that they are treating him like this, wondering what happened to his brother, and why they're treating him like shit still. Jumping back to the present, we see the guy who is nervous get surprised by something, as there is an abandoned building in the middle of the forest. He asks why it's here of all places, and it's pretty well preserved, all things considered. The Shadow Sword Squad tell Chul they're going to be heading in, and as they all do so, they ask what the hell that is, as they see a giant monster skull on the ground. They say it must be an ancient monster's corpse, and the Shadow Sword Squad says they've found it, and the leader tells the rest to begin, as they all start flying forward. The dude who was nervous gets his head cut off before he can even finish asking, "Begin what?" Chul turns, surprised, and he and the other man start yelling, asking what they are doing, and the Shadow Sword Squad says that surely they all knew that they were dead from the start, and that they should consider themselves honored to be used for the clan's goodwill. Right before he can stab the other dude, a sword goes through the back of his chest, as we see Chul was the one who did it, and he asks who is behind this. The Shadow Sword Squad folds under zero pressure, saying that it was their liege, and they were ordered to bring all of them here, and to kill them as cleanly as possible. As he shatters the sword with his bare hands, his wound begins to heal itself. He says that they were only ordered to kill them cleanly if they didn't resist. Chul wonders how his wound is closing, but the other dude misreads the situation, coming in with an attack, only for him to get absolutely cut in half, and Chul nearly avoids death as well. They start laughing at him, saying that he is pathetic, and they thought he would be stronger than this. As they start charging at him, they say, considering that half of his blood is still part of the Lee clan. He sure is a disappointment, as they knee him in the chest. They send him flying backwards, and he shatters everything in his path until he slams into the giant skeleton, coughing up blood. He grits his teeth, saying that he refuses to die a dog's death like this, and he needs to find a weapon. He starts looking around until he spots one in the skull of the giant monster. He says if it was powerful enough to slay that beast, then it should be fine, even if it's been here for a while. He reaches onto it, and says that he did it, only to pull it out, surprised that the blade begins dissolving into a black mist in front of his eyes, and he asks why. The Shadow Sword squad member, now standing right behind him, says that he didn't imagine that someone of the Lee clan could be so damn pathetic, and he'll send him off like a Lee at the very least. As he slices his back open, Chul says that the heavens are so cruel, and that he was really just going to die like this, and he spent his entire life struggling and running, experiencing nothing but failure. If only he got one more chance at life. Of course, plot convenience, and the fact that this is the start of the series, we know what's going to happen. Everything fades to black, but then, we hear his.
If you came this far, please like, comment, and subscribe the channel for watching more video.
Asking about his mother, who is named Yojung, and the butler says that it was too late when they found her. Chul just wonders how his father is here, since he's already gone, and we are formally introduced to Taishan for the first time. Chul says that he looks pretty young, and so does butler Choi as well. Coincidentally, Taishan gives him the nickname of Young, but I will continue calling him Chul. He starts waving at them, and notices that he has fat little Vienna sausage hands. Double takes by looking at them again, and he's confused about what's going on. Chul wonders what's going on, saying that he should be dead, and says this might be the afterlife or a flashback. Taishan tells butler Choi that just like the other children, he needs to assign him a handmaid and some Shadow Sword squad members as guards, and have him attend the steel selection ritual with the 8th child. Butler Choi asks if he means right now, since he isn't ready, and the 8th is still a few months older. Taishan thinks about it and looks down at Chul, saying that it shouldn't matter. Much to Chul's surprise, Taishan then says he's taking his leave, as Chul sits there in his crib alone, and lets out a sigh, saying as expected of his father, he hasn't seen him in a while, but his pressure sure is a lot. But he wonders what is going on? As this is all too real to be a flashback. And in regards to that conversation just now, he's not sure if this actually ever happened, and he says he doesn't want to believe it, but if it is true, this means he might have actually regressed to the past. Spoiler alert, he did. It jumps to a few months after returning to the past. It's time for the special day of their clan, the steel selection ritual. The children of the clan display talent corresponding to the weapons that choose them. His father, who was chosen by dozens of blades, became the best swordsman of his generation. His eldest brother, who was selected by swords, tomes, and his staff, was renowned for his magic and swordsmanship, and the participant this time around is him. One of the maids says he dressed so well, and he's in a new environment, but he isn't crying at all either, which shows that he is pretty mature. We are introduced to his personal maid, named Moon Gawa. Gawa says she's sure he will get a good result, and she knows he has a bright future. Chul says his handmaid was like a mother to him, but she was still expelled due to his other brother's hatred. She was the only person who cried for Chul and how they mistreated him. This time he won't let that happen, as he touches her face, then he starts hugging her, saying that he'll protect her at all cost. Someone else enters, saying that the preparations are ready. Gawa looks down at Chul, asking if he's ready to go. It then jumps to butler Choi, telling Taishan that the preparations have been completed. Taishan says it's time to go, as we see Chul, Gawa, and the 8th child, and some maids following behind Taishan and butler Choi up some stairs into a bright light. They make their way out into the stadium, as the crowd goes wild, ready to see what the children get. We hear some people talking, saying that they can see him now, and it's the bastard son who was brought from outside. We see the matriarch of the clan, who is named Baek Hwaeun, as well as the minister, who is named Lee Tai Hong, as well as the first child, Myeongjin, and Gun Song, who Chul has mentioned before. Myeongjin says that he's quite young, and Tai Hong glances over at him. Myeongjin says that he doesn't remember any of them participating in the ritual at this age. Gun Song says that he guesses, but he says that he doesn't know where he rolled in from, but he's intrigued. Taishan yells, saying it's time for the steel selection ritual to begin. He tells the maid to bring Hwa to him, and we are introduced to the 8th child as he picks her up. Taishan then reaches into his coat and cuts her finger, causing her to start screaming, as her blood begins to pour out. It starts to have a very bright blue aura on it, as it flies into the mountain of weapons. Some people start pogging out of their gourds, saying that that is the relic rank sword of the utmost prestige, the ivory sword. It's a true masterpiece that hasn't responded to anyone for generations. Taishan then pulls it forward using some Jedi mind tricks, and even does some cool tricks with it in the air before catching it. He says from now on, the ivory sword belongs to Hwa. They start congratulating Hwaeun, saying that another talented child has been born to the family, and that it's a true occasion for the clan. She thanks them, and Taishan says it's time to continue. It's now Chul's turn for the ritual. The spectators say that they all have heard the rumors about him being an illegitimate child, and they ask how a bastard is allowed to participate in the ritual. Taishan sits Chul down, and then cuts his finger, but Chul doesn't cry like Hwa did, and Taishan pats his head, telling him that he's proud. Chul says the time has come. In the past, he was selected by the Clear Echo, a heaven-ranked sword. He hopes that it's the same this time, as his blood starts to drip down, and comes into contact with the floor. We see a bright blue light. He really hopes that he at least gets that one this time too. We see Tai Hong glancing over to his right, and he says that based on Huiyan's expression, she seems to be in a pretty bad mood. But he guesses it's only natural because his brother had a hidden son, and that there's going to be a pitiful fate that lies ahead of that child, as it'll be hard to survive here as a bastard. We see this is right before the ritual. An old man steps up. He says that Tai Hong seems to be quite interested in this one. But Tai Hong just looks annoyed, saying that this man is part of the problem. He is the head elder named Chul Yung. Tai Hong greets him, and says that he can't read him, so he needs to make sure he stays alert. Chul Yung asks if that's the child that Taishan brought in. Tai Hong says yes, and that the Shadow Sword Squad was the one who found him. Chul Yung continues, saying that he just doesn't understand what the Patriarch is thinking, and that he is letting a child that nobody knows where he was born from participate in the steel selection ritual. Saying that surely Tai Hong hasn't experienced it himself, that the steel selection ritual is of no use for a bastard child. Tai Hong's hand starts to shake, and he asks him what he just said. Chul Yung apologizes, saying that the story of how he, another bastard child, failed to be selected by a single weapon is just that famous. Because in the end, a bastard child is not of the same bloodline. Chul Yung taps his walking cane into the ground, saying that they must always know their place, because they don't deserve a spot at the same table as them. Tai Hong grits his teeth out of frustration, and yells, telling him to watch himself. But Chul Yung is visibly shocked by something, and Tai Hong realizes this, wondering what's going on. He then looks back forward, as we see Chul's selection ritual is producing a very bright light. Tai Hong asks how this could be possible. He's seeing it with his own two eyes, yet he still can't believe it, as it looks as if the entire arena has that bright blue glow to it, to the point that it's almost blinding to every spectator in the audience. He got a couple masterwork weapons, as well as a couple relic level weapons. The crowd says this is impossible, because even weapons that already have owners are responding to him. We see someone holding onto a blade, as it's resonating with Chul too. It's none other than Myongjung, asking how this could happen, and he turns, telling Gunsong to get a look at this shit, saying that their youngest brother must be an unbelievable talent. Gunsong sees him as competition, saying that it appears so. The spectators say that something must be wrong, because an illegitimate child should not be capable of this. But it is also impossible for the steel selection ritual to be wrong. Taishan tells them all to be quiet, and immediately the entire arena falls deathly silent. He says according to the law of their clan, the weapons that chose Chul should belong to him, but the situation obviously is not that simple, so he will take some suggestions. Tai Hong raises his hand, saying that he has one. Taishan asks what it is. As Tai Hong begins to smirk, he says that even if it's the law of their clan, bestowing all these weapons onto him means going against the meaning behind the ritual, as it is a ritual that must continue on for generations, and that they should allow him to choose a single weapon himself. Taishan snaps his finger, saying that's not bad. As all of the weapons begin to float in front of him, he says that he'll take his suggestion, because it seems fair. He also lifts Chul into the air, and gently sets him down on the ground, in front of all of the weapons, telling him to pick the one which he likes the most. Chul says he doesn't know why this is different from what happened in his past life, but this is good for him, and that he'll make the most out of this entire situation, as he begins crawling forward, determined. He passes by a sword named Frak, the Dragon Slayer, as well as a holy spear that was forged from the body of a saint. This continues on and on, as every single weapon he passes by has some lore to it that shows that they are all truly great weapons, and that there isn't actually a bad choice among them. Chul says there's no need to worry, as he stretches his hand forward. Taishan looks surprised, as he realizes what he's reaching for, because it's a sword discovered by their founder in unexplored lands. It is a sword covered in dust and veiled mysteries, and nobody understands how to use its hidden power. It's called the Black Twilight, and its known ability is nothing special, to the point that he doesn't even know why it's classified as a heaven-level weapon, and that it is pretty much just courtesy at this point to their founder. And not a single one of the ancestors has managed to be selected by it. He wonders if it's just a meaningless choice by a newborn baby. As he makes Chul float back up, he pulls him towards him, gently putting him in his hands, and he says that this might be another will of the skies. He raises Chul's blade, yelling, telling them all that this is what he has chosen from their ritual, and with this, it is over. Back to Huiyan. She says that it seems like she's got quite the nuisance, and if the child gets in her way, she'll have no choice but to get rid of it. We get a time skip of a whole 9 years later, as Chul is calling for Gawa. He tells her that he's going to his afternoon training now, and she says that she'll escort him. He tries telling her that he can go by himself, but of course, she's a worrywart. She tells him that the other areas are empty, asking why he's going to Zone 1, because it's not really spacious either, and he tells her that there's someone waiting for him. She wonders who it could be. Then we hear someone yelling no, and she says it seems like there's someone in Zone 7. Someone begins telling her that she's gonna hurt her hand if she holds her sword that tightly. And we see it's actually none other than the 8th child, Hua. Chul even calls her the 8th, and Gawa says that he should address her as his older sister, because he'll get in trouble if someone were to hear him. He says they're only 5 months apart, so she's not really his older sister. Whoever is with her continuously yells, telling her that she must go again and again, and that she has to wield the sword as if it's part of her body. We see her growing frustrated to the point that she yells, throwing her sword onto the ground, asking why the hell she's being nagged so much, because it doesn't matter how she holds the sword. He tells her that this is all for her, so she should calm down, and that he is sure she'll do better next time. Chul asks who this dude is, saying that he's got a lot of work cut out for him, and Gawa introduces him as the commander of the Ebony Squad, and his name is Beckley Hyun. Chul's surprised that he's a whole-ass commander, saying that he's too skilled to be teaching a 9-year-old. Gawa mistakes this as him being a bit jealous, and tells him that a teacher who will realize his talent is going to appear soon. He says that it's okay, and she even starts to tear up, saying that she apologizes for not being able to look after him properly, and it's all because of her incompetence. He tells her to quit doing this, and he's told her so many times that he's thankful for everything she does. Her tears continue. Chul sighs, saying he isn't interested in people like Lee Hyun anyways, because they would have come here due to the clan's background to begin with, and that he already has some good teachers. We are introduced to the Direct Line's exclusive training area, which is Zone 1. He opens the door, entering, saying that this is the place that symbolizes their clan's distinguished history. It's more of a symbolic space instead of a training area now, but there is still a reason that he has come here. As he makes his way to even more doors in the back of the room, he puts his hand on it, saying that it's because compared to the other training areas, this place stores older weapons. They just shoved them all into the same room. He finds one in particular, saying that he's gonna go with this one today. As he picks it up, he says after he regressed 9 years ago, he's had some surprising changes happen to him. He widens his stance, then exhales, saying that the most surprising of them all is that he has a new ability that he'd never had before. As he starts to channel his aura onto the blade, he opens his eyes, saying that he has the ability to read the memories embedded in the weapons themselves. As he hears a man telling everybody to hone the basics, as the basics are the same for advanced and beginner level sword techniques, and if they want to get to the top, they have to start from the bottom. DJ Khaled wrote this shit. Chul says that usually, he has just been training with the memories of the weapons, and the older and more incredible the weapon, or the stronger the attachment the wielder had with the weapon, determines how clearly he can see the memories of the past. As he continues his practice, we see that he is using a technique called the 7-star sword first form Crimson Wind. He says that he's finally completed the step at 7-star sword now, and he's read memories of most of the weapons here, and that for the past 2 years he has trained non-stop. We hear Tai Hong laughing as he enters the room, saying that it's been a while since he's seen such a perfect 7-star sword. Chul turns, watching him walk in, and Tai Hong smiles at him. Chul gives us some backstory on his uncle, saying that although he's not from the direct line, his skills were acknowledged, and he's currently the general, and in his past life and now, he's one of the few family members who looked after him sincerely. Chul greets him, and Tai Hong pats his head, saying there's no need to be so formal, and he's proud that he's coming to the training hall every day, as he sees him every time he goes to work and when he leaves. While bringing up that it must be very tough being discriminated against by his siblings, but he hopes that he overcomes it. Chul tells him he's fine, as he's still part of the bloodline, and that their clan lives by the motto to prove themselves with the sword, so he will prove himself with his own strength and gain their recognition. Tai Hong's surprised by this, asking why he had to be born an illegitimate child. He says that he's almost at the age where he will have to go through the naming ceremony, and although it's a little late, he would like to be his teacher for the upcoming ceremony, asking him what he thinks about it. Remember his nickname to them is Young, and the 8th is Hua. Chul says that he's glad for the offer, but he can't accept it. Tai Hong's surprised, asking if he's not satisfied with him being his teacher. Chul says that there is a rule that forbids him from having a teacher before he goes to the naming ceremony, and he does not wish to put him in a difficult situation. Tai Hong says that his siblings are breaking all the rules so blatantly, and they're getting trained by great teachers and eating good food. Chul tells him that he believes rules shouldn't be broken, even if everyone else is doing so. Now, as he said before, he wants to prove himself with his own strengths. Tai Hong wonders if this child is really only 9 years old, because when he looks into his eyes, it's as if he's looking at his eldest brother. He sighs, saying that it seems that he cannot change his mind, and he's just as stubborn as his father, as he starts messing with his hair. He says this is bad, and that this uncle of his can't do anything for him, which really does bother him, and he asks if there's perhaps something that he needs. And Chul says he's been waiting for this moment, and that to be honest, he would like to ask for a favor. Tai Hong asks what it is. Chul smirks, saying that he would like to see what's underneath the secret warehouse, which surprises Tai Hong. It jumps to them driving up to a giant tower. As they get to a gate, the guards tell them to stop. He needs to reveal his identity and the purpose of the visit. Tai Hong hands them his ID card, saying that it's just a regular inventory checkup, and he's here with the youngest, taking him on a field trip. The man salutes him, saying that he's confirmed, telling him to enter. As they open the gates, Tai Hong drives by, and Chul says that he should act fascinated, and starts putting on that exact act. Tai Hong asks if he's that excited, and Chul says of course. The secret warehouse is where all of the family's greatest treasures are stored, and the item he's looking for is also here. Weapons of legend, and ancient relics you aren't even sure exist are all types of things that do actually exist here in the warehouse. Because this place holds more items than any other clan, they finally make their way inside. Chul keeps his childlike act up. Tai Hong says the secret warehouse's basement is a place containing weapons that have been sealed for a variety of reasons. Chul says he heard there are monster-level weapons that eat up their owners. Tai Hong says that at least he is aware, and if he just holds a weapon like that briefly, both his heart and body will be eaten up. Chul acts frightened, and Tai Hong laughs, asking if he's scared about it. Chul says not at all, of course, just acting like a child, bro is locked in. Tai Hong tells him not to worry, as they can't even enter such a dangerous place, and he'll do his business from up above, so he should take his time looking around. Chul says okay. Tai Hong waves him off as he gets in the elevator. Chul sighs, saying that it's not easy to act like an innocent kid, and the secret warehouse's basement is also known as the graveyard of weapons. It's a place where countless weapons and relics are sealed. The reason he came all this way is to find a very specific one in mind, and it is called Boundless. Normally, it has the shape of a dagger, but if you inject mana, its length, shape, weight, and other properties can be changed freely. And that Gun Song, who found Boundless in the secret warehouse before he regressed, obtained the title Ever-Changing because of how diverse the weapon was. And that title is why Gun Song, who was the third child, ended up becoming the patriarch instead of the oldest, who was the likeliest candidate. He then found him, who was hiding, and got him killed, which is all that he knows at the moment. In order to prevent the same thing from happening again, he has one thing to do, and it'll take some time, but he's going to check each and every one of the weapons. As we see a black aura forming in his hands, just like when he died, he says that he'll obtain it this time before Gunsong gets the chance. He touches a dagger, saying it's not this one, and then he's been checking everything that looks like a dagger for at least an hour now, but he still has not found it. But he's determined that it's here somewhere, and he just hasn't looked at them all yet. He says that he should check the display stand. But as he's walking past the table, he bumps into something at the edge, causing it to fall to the floor. And this thing is absolutely coated in rust. He asks how it even got this bad to begin with. As he stretches his hand out towards it, the black aura from his palm shoots out by its own, completely enveloping the dagger. Chul asks what the hell is going on, and why it's suddenly doing this, as his vision goes black. He opens his eyes in an unfamiliar scenery, asking where exactly he is, as he's atop a mountain of corpses. He asks if this is the memory within the rusty dagger, but it's different from the memories of the weapons he's read until now, and it feels so clear, like he actually exists in this place right now. He then hears a gut-wrenching sound, and he turns immediately, looking up in the sky, saying that it's an overwhelming presence that nature itself would fear. It is a primal monster that popped out of a blue hole long ago, swallowing entire civilizations. And that what is in front of him is an apocalypse rank monster. His legs start shaking, as he thinks that he's going to die. There's no way he can fight and beat this thing, he knows that he has to run. As the monster glares down at him, Chul falls onto the ground. He then hears footsteps behind him, as a warrior begins slowly walking forward. Chul is surprised by this, asking when the man got behind him, and watches as he dashes forward. He leaps off the ground, soaring straight into the air, raising his weapon overhead, having no fear for the apocalypse rank monster. It is a single blade strike that can split his enemy, and it's called the Split Demon. As he manages to actually get his attack off on the apocalypse rank monster, causing a giant explosion, sending its body flying, causing the entire area to be littered in the monster's corpse. As it's raining monster juice, he says there's no way that he defeated it in one strike. He wonders who exactly this guy is, as he's staring at his back. The man turns, asking Chul who he is instead. Chul is surprised that he can see him, and panics. The man asks why he is here, and he raises his sword into the air, saying as an act of mercy, he will send him away painlessly. He swings down towards Chul, and his heart starts beating faster. He thinks he's going to die. He snaps out of the memory and is sitting there, terrified while on the ground, and the dagger falls to the floor. He wonders what the hell that was just now, and it feels like the pressure that was pushing down on his entire body still remains, as if it was real life. The rusty dagger then begins to heat up, losing its rusty coating, and Chul grabs onto it, saying there's no way, and that he has absolutely no doubt about it. He cuts his finger, and as we see a faint blue aura, he says that he will become the master of 10,000 soldiers, as that faint aura starts to brighten up hella, to the point that it's almost blinding, as it wraps around the blade. He raises it into the air, and then swings it behind him, as we see it take the shape of a longsword instead. It then takes the shape of a different blade, as he swings it again, this time in front of him, and he says that he's found Boundless, and this is exactly what he wanted. It then jumps to some time later as we hear Chul yelling and his sword hitting something. As he hits the target dummy, he says that was another failure, and it's been a week since he obtained Boundless. He turned Boundless, which he found that day in the underground secret warehouse, into a ring so that people would not notice, and he still wonders what that was back then. The movement that man used was the Split Demon, and he only showed him this technique and told him its name because he felt that it was too early for him to learn it. Regardless of the force of the technique, the man's movements were so graceful, and he can't replicate it no matter how hard he tries. He smiles but says there's still a bright side to it as he swings his blade forward. He says that he's not exactly in a rush. Before his regression, he was an outcast that couldn't even inherit the family's basic techniques. It may only be one, but this is his first time experiencing such advanced martial arts, and he clearly recalls just how that man moved. He then realizes it, saying that he's a man, and he's not an adult right now, so he has much shorter limbs. So if he tries to mimic an adult's moves, it won't be efficient at all, and he needs to adapt it onto his own body. He sighs, wondering why he didn't notice this earlier, saying that he used to do it slowly and naturally. He closes his eyes, saying that he needs to wield the sword in a way that feels right for his body. As he raises it overhead, he swings downwards, and it shatters the floor underneath it. As he pulls his sword out from the ground, he says that he thinks he's got the hang of it now. Now he just needs to solve the mana utilization problem. No matter how many times he tries to replicate utilizing mana the way he remembers, he always fails. It's as if he's forgetting something really important, and he has no choice but to keep trying. He decides that it's time to begin again, as we see a woman straight up creeping on him. He raises his blade into the air, and she quickly runs in, grabbing onto the blade with her bare hands, and calls out to him, asking where exactly he learned that skill. Chul just looks nervous. He asks her who she is, but based on her hair and eye color, she must be a direct descendant of the clan. She's surprised, asking if he really doesn't know her, but says that she guesses that it makes sense that he doesn't, as she doesn't go outside often. She asks what his name is. He gives her the nickname that his father gave him, as he hasn't got his name yet, and she says that it's a unique name. She introduces herself as Gyeonga, and says that it's nice to meet him. He recognizes her as his youngest aunt, and says that she's different from the others, and his grandfather hated that about her. Chul remembers his uncle telling him about her before his regression, and more importantly, he has no idea why she can't consider the possibility that she's stupidly strong, as she tells him that he's rather fragile. She then walks to him once more, and asks him where exactly he learned that skill while smiling at him. He asks her why she's asking, but she says that she wants to know what the ancient martial art he used was, and she really loves old martial arts, which is why she's curious, and she tells him about the ancient monsters that lived long ago too. She then pulls something out of her robe, handing it to him, which is a book, and tells him that it's a gift. She tells him to go ahead and open it as he starts flipping through the pages. He says that it's a bit hard to read due to the handwriting, but it's a mana technique, and that's not all. There's more about martial arts too. It's also of a pretty high level, so it's hard to understand, and maybe the rumors about his aunt aren't really true. He asks her what this is because he's lost on one of the parts, and she points it out, saying that these are old mana techniques that use the mana paths as their basis. In the past, only mana paths were used, not mana circles, and the modern mana techniques have him store mana in his heart. However, she doesn't believe that it's okay to treat the old techniques like garbage. He says that he's never thought about this, and she says that perhaps the mana techniques of the past were better than the current ones, and that's why there are so few records, even though she's looking into amplification and transformation techniques. He realizes it would be boundless, but for mana instead, and then runs away, telling her to wait. She wonders what he's doing, and he stands there, saying that he needs to spread the mana throughout his entire body, and reject it when it tries to return to the circle while only utilizing his mana paths. This is the mana utilization technique of the man that he could not understand. He says that this will work, as he raises his sword overhead and slams down, creating an attack that's incomparable to what it was before. Both he and Gyeonga are surprised, and he says that he finally did it, and it was a success, but she recognizes that as an amplification technique. She starts asking him how he did that, and he says that he just did. She says that she gets that, but she wants to know how, and he sighs, asking why he has to tell her that. She says that he figured it out with a notebook she gave him, and that notebook is all she reads, and she's been looking for a way to use it for more than 10 years, even when she was kicked out. And she asks what she has to do for him to tell her. He sighs, saying that he'll do it if she promises 3 things. She says it depends on what they are. He says first, she shouldn't talk to others about it unless he's given her permission, even if it's his father or older brother. She asks why, and he says that he doesn't like the idea of people talking about him. She says that she understands because she's the same way, and he can tell that she looks a bit sad about it. He says secondly, he doesn't want her to lie to him, and they need to be able to trust each other, and he'll tell her the truth too. Her brain might be smooth because it seems like she's having trouble committing this to memory. She then asks what the last one was, and he says that the last one. Well, we don't get to see what it is yet.
If you came this far, please like, comment, and subscribe the channel for watching more video.